For our piece today, we're going to be using about 28 inches of 1.5 millimeter leather cording. You'll get a long piece, and I've already cut mine in half because I'm only going to make one earring today, let's be real. So I've got 14 inches here, and it's 1.5 millimeter. I also have a couple charms. I have some large hole spacers, some 4 millimeter 18 gauge jump rings, a pair of ear wires, a little barrel knot tube, and some 6/0 seed beads. I also have these little crimp tops. They're a 3 millimeter crimp that you just crimp right in the center there. And for tools, we're just going to use a ruler, and we'll be using our bent chain nose pliers, our chain nose pliers, and yes, miracle of all miracles, I have a pair of scissors here. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is, well, you will take your leather that you're going to get and you're going to cut it in half. Now you can just use it in one big long piece. It doesn't matter, but I don't know. I just find it easier to work with sort of measurements, I suppose, on something like this. So I'm going to take my leather and line it up at the beginning of my ruler, and I'm going to go to about the 5-inch mark. And that's the only thing I'm going to need that ruler for, so let's get that out of the way. Now this does not have to be an exact measurement, but it does help a little bit if you sort of start around 5 inches. So I'm going to take my barrel knot tube and place it right around the 5-inch mark, and I'm going to make 3 wraps, just a single wrap. So I'm going to go once, twice, 3 times. So when I say single wrap, I just mean that it's on the one piece of leather. I don't have it going around another piece of leather. So you're just going to be making a barrel knot like that. And you can bring your ruler back if you're wanting to make sure that you're still at around the 5-inch mark. And I am. So I'm just going to be pushing and pulling. And you can kind of wiggle it around. You just want it to look nice and neat like that, sort of stacked next to each other. Okay, so now before we go any further, I am going to take my jump ring that I've got here, and I'm going to place it on my charm. I'm going to open that up and place it on the charm. So now this will be available in kit form, and I will put a link below. If you decide that you want to make something like this, you have to make sure that your charm's going the right direction. So I've got a charm with a loop on it going in this way, so I need to put a jump ring to orient it the right way. If you're using a different kind of charm that's perhaps got a loop going the other way, you could just probably slip it right over top. The other thing I'm going to do, just to make life a little bit easier, is I'm going to cut my ends just on a little bit of an angle, and that will make it a little bit easier to get some of our things on. Okay, so now I am going to take one of our 6/0 seed beads, and then I'm going to take our charm, and then another 6/0 seed bead. And I love these ones. These are the I think they're called like Smoky Picasso, and I love that Picasso finish on there. I think it goes so nicely with the thistle charm. Okay, so now we're going to make another barrel knot. So I'm just going to make it next to this bead here. So I'm going to go once, twice, 3 times. So you can see that I always make them pretty neat, and then I keep my fingers on top of them so they don't fall apart, because that's when most people have their problems, is when they don't hold on to them and then they sort of fall apart on you. I haven't been making very many videos lately, and I feel a little bit rusty. I have to find time to do all the things I have to do. Okay, so there we go. I've got the first part of it made. So now I am going to take one of my 6/0 seed beads and a spacer, and then another seed bead. So this is what we've got happening so far. And now I'm going to make another barrel knot. So I'm just going to once, twice, 3 times. And these are so simple to throw together and nice and light. I am not somebody who likes to wear big, heavy earrings. So I actually changed the charm out on this. I had a different charm in, but when I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, that thing is going to be really, really heavy. And I don't know about you, but I really don't like heavy earrings in my ears. Let me know below in the comment section. Do you mind if your earrings are heavy? Do you like them on the lighter side? I don't know, maybe it's just me. I have fibromyalgia, so it makes me really, really sensitive to weight and things like that. I'm super sensitive to all the sensory things, which is so weird. I never thought that I would be like that, but I am. Okay. And just put that on like that. And then now we're going to make another barrel knot. So I'm just on the other side. Now, sometimes if I'm being really particular, I will make sure that all my barrel knots are going in the same direction by sort of rotating them and doing all that stuff. But I'm not going to worry so much because, you know, I have really realized something about myself in the last little while that, and that's that my perfectionism is going to drive me crazy. We are still in the middle of our renovation in our home. It's like the never-ending renovation. And my perfectionism on that renovation has darn near drove me nuts. So I'm trying to learn to let some things go a little bit, but it's very hard for me. I think when you're like that, when you're just a, you know, sort of a perfectionist, it's really, really tough. Okay, so now that's what we've got like that. So you can see these come together in no time at all. Now you could put a little dab of glue in the top there. So I would maybe just take some GS Hypo and just pop it right there and there. I'm not bothering because I make my knots pretty tight. But if you are worried about these coming apart, I would definitely pop a bit of glue in there. So now you'll see there is a little bit left over. And the reason that is because I tried making this with just 11 inches on each side, and it's really hard to get the knots to pull down. So you will find it a bit easier if you have a little bit more than a little bit less. So I'm just going to trim these off. Now don't go too short. You can always cut them a little bit longer. So I'm going to start about here, and then I just kind of measure because it's easier to trim than it is to try and go, oh gosh, what do I do now? So I can tell already that these are going to be too long, but I just kind of wanted to, you know, tell you what is not the best thing to do. But you know what? They're not too bad. I just have to trim just the ends off. And I'm not used to working with scissors because you know me, I'm always just using pliers and cutters and stuff. So I have to try to be at one with those. Okay, so that's about where I want it. So you want to sort of be able to see them on the end there, but you don't want them poking through. Now we are going to give you one extra in your kit. We have had these from the same manufacturer for as many years as I've been using them, which is about 13, 14, 15 years. Lately, I'm not sure if they've changed metals, but sometimes this middle section will fail. So we're going to put an extra one in your kit because if it does, you just kind of have to go backwards on it. So what I'm going to do right now, and I will show you what you can do if it fails. So you can see that this has started to come up. So before I squish it down, I'm going to make sure that that is pushed right in there. I want to make sure that I don't really see any of that leather. And I want to make sure that it's going the right direction. Like I don't want it like that. So I'm going to push it down. And right as I'm pushing it down, I'm going to squeeze it at the same time. So you only kind of get one kick at the can. So I'm just going to go a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it over and go on the other side. Now I can see that it didn't fail, but they don't look so nice sometimes. And I don't know what happened. So if it fails on you, all you have to do is like squeeze this way and then pull it off. This one isn't as nice looking as what I would normally like, but I think if I just boss it around a bit, I can get it back to where I want. So I'm not sure what's happened, but you know, they still look okay. And if you really didn't like the way it looked, you could wrap some beads around it or something, but I think it's okay. It's just, metals changed over COVID. I know that sounds kind of hokey, but a lot of companies went out of business and a lot of places are having a hard time trying to find their metals. So I do apologize if yours don't work exactly the way that we had hoped, because that kind of stuff does make me crazy. So I'm just going to adjust this one a little bit because it is not sitting quite the way that I would like it to, because mine did not bend the right way either. So now if you are worried about it doing that, you could just glue the inside. These will be a little tiny big on the inside, but you could do that. But, you know, I think if I was to play, like if I was doing this myself, I would just kind of reopen that up a little bit. It's a little hard to do right now, but I would reopen it up a bit. But you can see that it's a good thing that see, mine just actually broke on me. That is not good. So lesson learned. Don't monkey around with it too much. So you know what? I've been saying lately that I'm not going to edit things out. And this is the reason why, because it's good when things go bad for me too, because you guys all think that I can do everything. And you know, I'm pretty good at most things, but sometimes things go bad for me too. So moral of this story is don't monkey around with this too much because it does not like it. So these are not a bad product. I think it's just the last little bit some of the metals have not been as good. So, and I am going to actually talk to them and see what's going on. So all I'm doing is just kind of unsquishing that. So there, you see, it didn't damage it at all. So that's why we are going to give you one extra, because I think you would probably only have one fail if it did, because I use them all the time and it's only the odd one. So I'm going to try a different set of pliers on this one to see if that helps. So I'm going to go in here with my bent chain nose and get that right in that center and push down. Yeah, that one went a little bit better. So you just have to make sure that it is actually pushed down there. I find it so hard when I'm used to using one pair of pliers and then I try to use something else and it doesn't like it. All right, there we go. So just don't press too hard, because you don't need to go crazy. That's going to be in there. So I probably made that look a whole lot harder than it actually was, but I just wanted to make sure that you could see what to do. And, you know, so maybe it was a good thing that it failed. So then I'm just going to open up my ear wire. Look at this mess down here. I usually keep kind of a nice little workspace, but again, I'm trying not to edit my videos so much because I'm not striving for perfection any longer, because then I get so that I can't film. So let me just clean up this mess and I'll show you the completed pair. So there you go. There's the completed pair. I hope you enjoyed these ones. They were a little fussy to make with that silly little crimp, but I think if you're just kind of, you know, it's like hold your tongue the right way and it'll work. But I think they're pretty cute when they're on. Okay, so to make our project today, we're going to be using some 3-ply Irish wax linen. Now, if you do buy a kit, because this will be available in kit form, you'll get a total of 43 inches of the Irish wax linen. You're going to want to make sure that you take your two ends, marry them up, find the center, and cut that piece. I've only got half of that right now because I'm only going to make one pair of the earrings on camera. I also have a little pair of heart charms. These really nice little sort of an oval link that we have, and they're perfect for what we're going to do today. I've got a pair of ear wires. I've got some 6mm 18 gauge jump rings, and I have 2 different colors of 8/0 seed beads. And for tools today, you're going to need a pair of cutters or a really good pair of sharp scissors. You guys know I never have scissors, so I'm going to use my trusty cutters. I also want to have a pair of bent chain nose pliers and a pair of pliers. So let's get started. So not only am I a lover of all things leather, but you know, I really love doing things like macrame. I find sort of a rhythmic thing very cathartic, and it's just one of those things that I really enjoy. So that's what we're going to be doing today, a little bit of macrame. All right, so you remember at the beginning I told you to cut that 3-ply Irish wax linen in half. I'm now going to take that piece that I've got and I'm going to fold that in half because I do want to make sure that these are even. So I've got, I mean, it's out just a tiny bit, but I'm not going to worry about a little bit. And I just want to run it down to the middle so that I have like a little loop like that. Now I'm going to take one of my rings and I'm going to go down with my loop, and I'm going to take those 2 pieces and pull it through the bottom of the loop. And now this is going to create basically like a lark's head. And I'm going to put that in the middle like that. Now I'm going to separate those so that I have one on one side and one on the other. So now I do recommend that you separate your beads on this one. It's really easy to get carried away and keep going at the halfway point, and we don't want to do that. So what you're going to have is 5 beads of one color. That's your dominant color. And then you're going to have 4 beads of your other color. Once you've done that, you've got 5 and 4, then you'll know that you have to stop and you have to turn it over. Well, turn it around actually. So I would just pull out 5 and 4 so that you don't make the mistake of continuing on all the way, because then you're not going to have enough of the Irish wax linen. So I hope that makes sense. So the first thing that we're going to do is start with our dominant color. So we're going to start and stop with that color. So now if your end gets kind of blunted out a little bit, you just roll it between your fingers like that, and it'll create a little bit of like a needle. And now we're going to put our bead on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the end that we've got on the right hand side and we're going to go down through our ring, and then I want to pull it up through the middle of this loop. So I just pull like that, making sure that the bead is on the other side. And I want to sort of pull that up, and don't worry if it moves around a little bit because we can keep moving it. But what I want to do is have that sitting nice and neat on the side, and I want to have that fairly tight. So when I'm pulling, I'm not just going to pull like that. I'm going to hold on to it and pull, because you don't want to pull this frame out of shape. Now I need to do the other side of my knot. So I'm going to go up from the bottom, and then I just reach through the bottom of that and then pull that. So that will create another sort of like a lark's head, I guess. I'm the worst. I do all these projects and then I think, well, what is that called? Is that called that's not a square knot? What is that? I think it's still a lark's head. So, I have to apologize for not always knowing the names of all these things. I just know how to make some fun jewelry, that's all. All right, now I'm going to put one of my other colors on. And so I'm going to go down, and then I just pull it up through the middle, always making sure that that bead is on the other side there. So now hold on and give it a tug. Now I'm going to come from the bottom, and then I just reach up through the bottom and grab that, and there we go. So now you can see we're lining them up on the side. Now this is so simple to do. There's just a couple little tricks that you want to make sure that you're following, and one is that you're going to go down to start off with, pull tight, and then you're going to come up and then grab that, and you'll know right away if you've made a mistake, because what you can see in between, it's a little harder with the Irish wax linen, but there's like a little, you can see it right on this one, there's like a little bump. So you want to make sure that our bumps are coming up like that. So now we've got on our 3 beads. So now I'm going to go to one of my secondary colors, and I'm going to go down and just pull up, and then I sort of jiggle it, hold on tight. I'm going to go start from the bottom, and then I reach through, and now I'm going to tighten that up. And you can see that this comes together pretty darn fast. And I was going to originally do this with leather, and I thought, well, no, I think I'm going to do it with something a little less bulky. I wanted something that looked really kind of pretty, but a little less bulky. So that's why I went with the Irish wax linen. And we're just using 3-ply, although you probably could get 4-ply through here. But if you do buy a kit, you would get 3-ply linen, Irish wax linen. It's one of my favorite products because it has that grip to it. So I know I will get people asking me questions, can I do this with Eslon, or can I do it with whatever? I always say, give it a try. What I do know is that it probably won't stick as well. So that's why I like the Irish wax linen, because it has, I made up a word called gription. And I always say, it's got a lot of gription to it. Like it really just holds. It won't unravel. It won't come undone. Now also you'll see that this bead has popped over. So what you're going to do is I just take mine and boss it back to where I want it there. So always make sure your bead is sitting where you want before you tighten that up. So you can see I'm almost done on the one side, and I thought that I would have to just kind of skip forward, but I managed to get that done okay with a little bit of chatter. Everybody complains when I chatter too much, but whatever. I think it's part of doing these videos. You kind of have to chatter, because a little bit of dead air would be, or a lot of dead air would be boring, right? All right, so here's my last one on this side. So I'm going to go down, and don't worry about where they're sitting, because we're going to make them go where we want after. And you can see that one's wanting to come around to the wrong spot. So just boss that bead back, just push it on the other side there. Now I'm going to come up. Always make sure you're going down first and then up through the middle on the last one. Okay, so now you can kind of, futz around with it a little bit and get everything where you want it. And that's what we've got happening. So now we need to start on the other side, but I don't have enough here. And I wanted this is going to be the top part of my earring. So what I need to do now is start down here. But what you want to make sure is that you don't turn it over. It's a whole lot easier to do it this direction, but then you're going to have your knots going in 2 different directions. So we're going to come down here and start it. It's a little confusing if you're not sort of paying attention. So I'm going to pull my 5 and my 4. I think it's pretty easy, but it's just, you're sort of doing it upside down. So I'm going to put my bead on, run that down to the middle, and I'm going to still do the same thing. I'm going down and then through the center there, but it's just kind of upside down looking to me. At least in my brain, I was like, oh, this just seems wrong. But it makes it so that your knots go the same way. So there. So and what we want to have down at the bottom here, so I'm going to get this kind of lined up now, is I want to have a little gap. Just kind of move these down. It's getting a little crowded up here. So I want to have in the center of this oval ring, there. You can see how you can still slide them around nicely. I want to have this knot at the center of the ring down here, and I want to have the knot up there in the center. So now I'm going to go to my secondary color. Slide that down, go down, and you can see it's not hard. You just kind of grab the end. You don't have to, you know, have this in any, it doesn't have to be tied down or anything. I just find doing it in my hand is the easiest thing. And make sure when you're pulling on it that you've got hold of that whole ring, because you don't want to have that ring go out of shape. So you guys know that I enjoy laughing. The other day somebody left me a really rude comment. Actually 2 in a row, but she did leave me a rude comment. And I normally don't say anything on my videos. I'm just like, whatever. And sometimes if they're really ignorant, I'll just delete them. But I clapped back a little bit and I was kind of not so nice to her back. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I just leave people and ignore them? Or every once in a while have a little bit of fun? I couldn't help myself. I don't know. Sometimes people just think that their opinions are so important. And even if they think, I don't know, do they not understand that it might hurt somebody's feelings? You know, like I do this for free. Yeah, you know, I get paid a little bit to make these videos from AdSense, but I'm not getting rich making these. This is all stuff I used to charge for in my stores. So this is a lovely lady came on and said, you know, everybody needs to remember that Kelly's doing this for free. A lot of people charge for the kind of stuff that I give away for free. So I thought that was very nice of her to kind of, you know, see that I am trying really hard to give you really good content. And that was very nice to have somebody, you know, have my back. And I know that you guys all do. So I'm yakking too much and I'm like, okay, which way am I going? So again, make sure that you're still following that pattern. And now you can see that we've still got all of our bumps up on the top, which is exactly what you want. And we're almost done there. We have one of our main colors, so go down and hold on to that and then go up. So each stitch is going to have the two stitches to it. And then our secondary color. So you can see by separating them like that, it helped my brain know how many more I had to put on there and which one went where. Because I do find sometimes when you're doing this, you don't think that you are going to have enough room, and then there's too much of a gap, like it'll do one of those kind of things. It'll move down. And so it's nice to know how many you're going to have to put on. We will give you a few extra in your kit, but you're going to have, down one side, you're going to have 9, and on the other side, you're going to have 9, and they're going to be 2 different colors. So you have 5 of, or I guess 10 of the dominant color and 8 of the non-dominant color. All right. So that's as fast as that was. So now what I want to do before I go any further is just kind of maneuver them around. I want to make sure that everything's kind of sitting where I want it to. And I just sort of, you know, play around with the beads and get them looking quite, you know, I want them to sort of be standing up, and I think that looks really good. So now what I'm going to do, and this is why I love Irish wax linen, is I'm going to just tie this. Now I want to make sure when I'm making this knot that the knot is on the top and not in the front. So Irish wax linen really sticks together, which is exactly what we want, but sometimes it goes where you don't want it to go. So I want my knot to be right on the top, and I'm pulling really tight. Now I'm going to do like, you know, the right over left and left over right. So I'm just doing opposite there and pulling that down on the top. And then I'm going to pull this super tight. Now, I'm not pushing on that ring. Oh, mine broke. And that never happens, but that's okay because it actually broke right where I wanted it to. But I've never had Irish wax linen break before. So all I'm going to do is just, it actually broke right where I wanted. That is funny. Well, there's a first for me. That is that literally, I've worked with this stuff a lot and I've never had it break. So I guess don't pull so hard that you break it. So then what I do is I just kind of take my pliers and sort of burnish that down a little bit. So you will see like a little bit of a nub, but I'm going to show you a little trick to cover that up. So what you want to do is just have that so it's nice and tight. Now, if you're worried about it, you could put a drop of glue. Just take a little bit of GS Hypo and put a little drop of glue on there and let it dry really well before you move on to the next step. But I never use glue when I'm using my Irish wax linen. But then again, I've never had a break either. So, I guess there's always a first. So now what I'm going to do is take my pliers and put them on one side of my jump ring and then my bent chain nose on the other. And I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to put my little heart down at the bottom here. So that where the knot is going to be the top of your earring. So, and I want to make sure that I'm remaining aware of where these little bumps are. So they're just like the little bump that you see on top. Like you can definitely see the top side and the back side. And the reason is when I put my ear wire on, I want to have both earrings going the same direction. So now I'm going to kind of hide that business that we did up here with 2 jump rings. So it gives it a little bit of a bulkier kind of heavy metal kind of look, and it will cover up some of the business of those knots, and it will take your eye away from focusing on the knots. So it kind of serves a dual purpose. Now we're going to take another jump ring, and I like to use these heavy gauge jump rings. I don't want anything falling apart. So I just want to make sure that those are in the middle, and they'll slip down over a bead there, but we can boss that back. There we go. Make sure that that is done up nice and tight. So I sort of jiggle them together. Now making sure that this is the top. Yes, that is the top. I'm going to open up my ear wire. And then I'm going to put that so that those little bumps are on the front. And then I want to sort of tighten that up. I just sort of push that together like that. All right, so I'm just going to clean up and then I'll show you the couple pairs I have here. All right, so there you go. There's the completed earrings. We've got the 2 different colors that we'll have available in kit form. We have our matte metallic metals and we have our Picasso pair. So these will be available in kits. You just go down to the description box below the video and it will take you to a fully secure website. There's a link there and it'll take you right to the earrings. Okay, so I'm going to make just a little pair of earrings today. Again, this is the one that Lori brought in yesterday that it was a jumping off point. Doesn't look anything like what she brought in, but it gave me a really fun idea. And I had to play with this for quite a while. Sometimes I think people think that I just like crank it out easily. But this took quite a while for me for it to come together, so that I was happy because I am a perfectionist. Everything has to be just so. And if it's not, then I don't like it. So anyway, so we're going to be using all these things today. So I'm going to be using some 26 gauge titanium wire, and I am going to be using one of these little crimps where you crimp the middle section, and this is one of our 3mm ones. This will be a kit, and I've called it the Gretchen kit, and it's I think it's $17.99. It comes with the Tierra cast ear wires, and these are in the gray color, which I really like. They look perfect with their antique silver or antique pewter finish. I have one of these little hammered rings that they have, and one of their really lovely bead caps. I think this is the Lily bead cap. I can't remember exactly. I have a matching head pin with a ball on the end, and then this is a piece of check glass, and I think I can't remember what this one's called. It is, it's a Baroque in a medium sky blue. So it's really nice because it's got that beautiful blue on there, and then it's got the Picasso finish on the end, and it works so nicely with this. And then I have one little teeny tiny, what's a dog hair again? One little teeny tiny bead. That's an 8/0. I think that's a seafoam green seed bead. And then I'm using the camel color vegan suede. We're just going to use a little bit of that. And then for our tools today, we're going to need a ruler, and we'll also need our regular 4 pliers that we always use, our chain nose pliers and our cutters, our bent chain nose, and our round nose pliers. Okay, so these just take a little bit of time, not too much. Doesn't matter what we do in here. There is always dog hair, and I think I say that every video now because there's always either cat hair or dog hair. It drives me bonkers. Oh, good, Lori. Okay, you'll have to come up with something. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take my head pin, and I'm just trying to make sure I'm on camera here because I'm in kind of a weird thing. I'm just going to take off my jacket because now that I'm on camera, I'm getting hot. So I need to get a little bit cooler. Goodness gracious. Okay, there we go. I'm all set now. Okay, so I'm going to take my head pin and I'm going to place my bead on there, and then I'm going to take my little cap and place that on. And then when I'm going to take my wire here, and I'm just going to sort of put my thumbnail there, and I'm going to bend sort of away from it. I don't want to have a really long neck there. So you just want to do a nice sharp 90-degree angle bend. And then I'm going to go a little bit further up my pliers because I need to have a loop. Let me just get rid of this thing for a sec. I need to have a loop that's big enough to go around this. We're going to use this sort of like a bail. So I'm going to go up and over and down, open up my pliers, rotate them, and then I'm going to pull that to the back. And now you can see that this is way off kilter because I don't have much of a neck. So I just kind of rotate my right hand, or my hand to the right, I should say. And then you can just kind of adjust that. And all that does is just repositions it so it's sort of sitting on top like a little bit of a lollipop. All right, now we're going to take this little rings, hammered ring. I know there's an actual name for it, but I have completely forgotten what it is. And you might want to just sort of separate that with your nails just to make it easier to get in there. And then we are going to take our pliers, and I'm just going to, I'm going to see how I did my other one. I think I just went down a couple times. I'm just going to grab my pliers here and just kind of nestle that in. And I just have to check and see if I went up or if I just went down. I can't even remember. Oh, I just went down. You know, usually I do like a double wrap. But on this one, I just did it twice. I think I just wanted to keep it super simple. So I just went down 2 times. So now we're going to turn our pliers over so that we've got the flush side. So I'm going to go like that. And that way, when I cut it, we're going to end up with a nice blunt end versus something that's got like a little point on it, which doesn't always look so nice. So now you can just take this little burr if you want and push that down just ever so slightly. I don't want to push too hard. And that's what we've got happening so far. And the nice thing about these little Baroque beads is that you can kind of rotate it so that it sits just the way that you want in this really nice cap. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of my vegan suede, and I chose this camel color because it's just really pretty. It's nice. It goes so nicely with this. It's a really, I usually use a darker color, but this one looked really nice. So I think I did just under 2 inches on the other one that I made already. So I'm just making one today. So of course I should have scissors, but do I ever have scissors? You guys know me. I never have scissors. Okay, so I think that's just under 2, which is about what we want. Now, one of the things that you can do to make life a little bit easier is you can kind of trim off the very corners of this. Just a little bit. You don't need to do too much. Just, oh, that's probably too much. But just trim off a little teeny tiny bit and it goes up inside there. But don't take too much off because you don't want to have that too low. So, okay. And then I'm going to figure out which is my front and which is my back. I guess it doesn't really matter on that one, does it? Okay, I'm going to take my suede and I'm going to go up through that loop. And then I'm going to just kind of turn it. Am I on camera? Okay. And I just want to match the ends up. So you can see how it's going to hang like that. So that's going to be the back of it. So that's what we've got happening there. And so now I am going to pop that in there. Now by just trimming that end off a little bit, it sometimes makes it a bit easier to get inside, but I just like to, sort of make sure that it's going to fit before I start crimping anything down. And now I'm going to take my original one and just kind of off camera, just make sure that these are very similar in size, which I think they are. Yeah. So it's just, when that's the problem when you make part of one for the demo the day before, trying to match up sizes is not always easy. So, okay. So now what you want to do is take your chain nose pliers and go in the middle of these crimps. So I just kind of pull back ever so slightly so that I don't see that suede inside. I don't want something like that. You don't want to see the suede poking out. So I pull back just a little tiny bit so that I'm not seeing it. And then I'm going to give that a little bit of a crimp. Now you do need a pair of pliers that have a really like a not too thick of an end. So if those don't work for you, you can always go with your bent chain nose pliers if they have a little bit more of a narrow sort of look on them. And this one actually didn't crimp very nicely. Sometimes they don't, but I'm going to pretend that didn't happen and not worry about it. And then what I'm going to do next will probably cover that up a little bit. So now I'm going to take a little bit of my 26 gauge wire, and I think we've got about 10 inches in the kit. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of hold the very end of it with my thumb. And I just have to figure out which is my front. And is that my front or my back? That's my back. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm on my front. So I'm just kind of holding on to that, and I'm going to wrap this around a couple times. So it doesn't have to be like anything perfect. I'm just going to wrap that a couple times. And then I'm going to take this little 8/0 seed bead and position it right in the middle there. And then I'm going to wrap around a couple more times. And this was just to add a little bit of color at the top. And it actually ended up being of benefit today because that crimp didn't actually crimp the way that I would have, that would make me happy. So we just want to have all of this inside that little divot there. And then what I'm going to do is take the end here. I don't usually do things like this, but I want to make sure that this isn't going to go anywhere. So I'm just going to take these ends and just kind of twist. And I want to be right in the back. So I got to move that over a little bit. But I'm just going to twist those together just a couple times. And then I'm going to take my pliers and just twist that together. All I'm doing is just making sure that it's going to be nice and secure. So I don't know if you can see there, but it's just added a little, like about 2 or 3 little twists. So then I'm going to come in and trim that off. And then I'm going to take the end of my pliers and just kind of push that down. Just make sure you're not on top of your bead on the outside. We will give you a couple extra beads. I'm just going to use a different pair of pliers. Those pliers don't have any of these springs in them, so sometimes it can be awkward to do what I need to do. There we go. I just don't want to have anything sharp there. So that just adds a little bit of a decorative feature. And then we've got a little bit of coverage on that crimp that went a little bit south. Now I'm going to put on, somebody was able to text me even though I'm on, I'm on airplane mode. So that's kind of weird. All right. So sorry about that if you guys are hearing noises that you shouldn't hear. Okay. So now I'm just going to do up my earring or my ear wire. And there we go. So let me just move some of this stuff out of the way here. They're just a really simple little pair of earrings, but I thought they looked so cute when they're done up. All right. So there we go. Is that on camera? So here's the one that I made yesterday. So there we go. Just a fun little pair. And that one I didn't make as tight, so that sometimes moves around, but really cute and simple. I think they would be a really good little, super easy thing to throw together for a friend, for a gift. Yeah, those did kind of come out cute, didn't they, Lori? I love them. I like that, just that little bit of an accent with the vegan suede. And of course, I always tend to gravitate to blues. What is it with me and just going for the blues all the time? I guess, when you like something, you know what you like. So there we go. So those ones are the Gretchen earrings, and they are available right now in kit form on the website. So if you just type in Gretchen, you'll find them, but they've got a really nice look to them. I'm really digging those ones. So when I don't know what to make, I make a pair of earrings because I think that is literally one of my favorite things to make. So I've been on a roll with earrings lately. So today we're going to be starting with some vintage bronze 22 gauge craft wire. And I'll also be using some head pins that have a ball in the end. I really like these because it just gives you that little extra decorative feature. And I'm going to be using a pair of tiara cast charms. And I love these ones because they're just such a beautiful pattern on both sides and they're different. So depending on how you feel that day, you can use a different pattern. Now, when I was in Tucson, I found these melon drops and I practically screamed in the booth because if you've been around a while, you know that I absolutely love this color combination, these sort of browny, rusty kind of colors and turquoise. And I just thought that was stunning. And I literally bought every strand she had. So I won't have these for sale, most likely on the website. I may put them in pairs. We'll see if I have enough left over. But for now, they're going to go in this kit. I also have some 4mm fire polish. I have some ear wires and a couple cones. And for tools, we're going to be using our bent chain nose pliers, our round nose pliers, our chain nose pliers, and our cutters. So let's get started. All right, so I've just moved everything, so I'm going to be working just on one piece here. So I'm going to cut myself about 8 inches or so of wire. Give that a little snip. Now it's a little bit longer than what I normally use, and I'll be explaining that as I go along. So I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers on the top and kind of run that down and straighten that out a little bit. So now we're going to go about 2 inches from the top and bend away. And now I'm going to be making a wrapped loop. So I'm just going to pick a point on my pliers and I kind of want to remember where that is. So I'm going to go up and over and down and rotate that plier so it's now parallel to the table and then pull that tail straight to the back. And then I just want to make sure that that's sort of tipped up so that it looks like a nice little circle there. So now I am going to be taking my charm here and running that through and doing that up. So I'm going to go around a couple times. So I'm going to go maybe 3 times and then I'm going to work my way back. I want to create a bit of a messier, sort of bulky wrap on this one. And it will help in a second when I'm doing the next part. I sort of went for a little bit bulkier look for a reason. Okay, so trim that off. And then now what I want to do is just make sure that that little tail is not sticking out. So there we go. So now you can make a decision as to which side that you want to go. If you want to have this pattern, you just turn it this way. And if you want to have that pattern, you're going to just turn it that way. So that's the nice thing about this one is you can do what you like with it. Okay, so now I am going to be putting on my cone. And then I'm going to be putting on my melon drop. And I absolutely love that color. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so now I need to make my next loop opposite to the direction of this one. So I'm going to turn it this way so that I'm actually looking down that hole. So I'm going to now take my pliers and just go to the very end of them because I don't want a big long neck on there. And I'm going to be making a wrapped loop. So I bend away and I'm going to come back to that same spot that I was using before and go up and over and down, rotate and pull that around. And then now it's going to be off kilter a little bit. So I just pull it up and then pull that little arm down so that we've created a loop like that. So now I'm going to go across there and I'm going to get a good hand hold on that and go around a couple times. Now I'm going to take this when I'm coming back the end of my third and I'm going to wrap it around the front of that bead. Now I find at this point the best thing to do is just to kind of hang on right here and I'm going to go around and just go like that. Now no beads or no pair is going to look exactly the same each time. You may have your wire in a little different location, this on the second pair than on the first pair, or on the first one versus the second one, I should say. I wouldn't worry about it. You know, these are meant to look a little bit on the organic side, so don't worry about that. Okay, so this is what I'm calling the good side. When I create a wire wrapped loop, you can see that this is what I sort of call the back side. It kind of has like a not so pretty look to it. and that looks a whole lot nicer. So now what we've done is we've just brought that wire around and then wrapped it up. It's just giving us just a little extra decorative feature. Now, if you were really, really, you know, one of those people that could think really clearly, you could maybe do it backwards so that it would be a mirrored image, but I'm not going to worry about that at all today. Okay, so now I'm going to wrap up my beads, and I think I am going to maybe make these opposite to what I did on my prototype, in that I'm going to put my blue one in first and see what happens. You know, I like to just experiment, and you guys get to watch as I experiment sometimes because, you know, truth be told, I never make a full pair of anything when I'm doing these videos. I make one earring and go, oh, I like that. Let's do a video quickly. So now I'm just going to wrap around a couple times. I'm not going to go probably 3 times on these because I don't want to get too close to that bead. This is glass. It's a check glass, so it's pretty sturdy, but it could crack if we get too close. And those head pins are about a 20 gauge, so they're pretty sturdy. So when I'm pushing this down, I want to make sure that I'm not getting close to that bead because I don't want to crush that bead. So if you're worried about that, just kind of leave it. I can get in there pretty close, but I have a pair of pliers here that allow me to do that. So we don't want to crush that bead. So that's just going to dangle in front. And now we're going to do the same with the second one. So just pop that in there. And now if you wanted to, you can just bend it with your thumbnail, you know. That's an easy way of doing it also. And we're going to go back to that same location and just make a loop. And then we're going to go on top of that one and then wrap it up. So these come together, as most pair of earrings do, pretty fast. And I was really, really happy with the outcome. So I hope you guys are going to really like these too. And give that a trim off. Now, if you do trim close enough, you probably won't have much of a burr, but just in case you do, you can always take your chain nose pliers or your bent chain nose pliers and just kind of grab hold of it like that. Gives you a little bit more stability. And there we go. I just pushed that down so that you don't see that. And now I'm just going to have a little look at the end here to make sure everything's the way that I want it to be. And then I'm going to pop on my ear wire. So you open that up like a jump ring and run that through and then close that up. And always make sure you sort of jiggle it, and that'll go in there nice and tight. So I'm just going to clean up and I'm going to show you the completed pair. All right, so here's the completed pair. I am absolutely loving this gorgeous color combination. As you know, it is totally my jam. So this will be available in kit form, and to access the kits, you just go into the description box below the video, and there will be a link that takes you directly to my fully secure website where we have this kit, tons of other kits, and anything that you would need to make beautiful jewelry. So, okay, so for our project today, we're going to be using some E6000 glue, and I've got a link of chain and some head pins, or these are head pins with the ball on the end. And then I'm using I said earlier that I was going to tell you which one was my favorite ear wire, and this is one of the Tiara Cast ear wires, and I love it because it just seems to make everything hang just perfect down there. Sometimes the little loop is a little bit forward and it makes them hang funny, but theirs are just perfect. So that is my favorite. And I would give you the code on that, but all the codes are different for each color. But it's just I think I called it regular ear wire. I do not know why I called it that, but anyway. I have one of the heavy gauge jump rings and then a small jump ring. And here's a little Chinese crystal, almost like the purple one that I showed you that I'm going to be using today. I've got one of Tiara Cast's bezel setting. How are we doing on time, Savannah? Are you okay?
Good, we're at 1:42. We're good.
Okay, good. And then I have a small button from Tiara Cast. And now I'm not doing a kit on these, but if you're looking for some of the parts, I will tell you what they are after. So that's just one of their little buttons. And then I have this little wood charm pendant-y kind of thing. And we're going to be using our 4 basic tools. We have our bent chain nose, our round nose pliers, our chain nose pliers, and our cutters. All right. So let's see. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutters and I'm going to cut off the shank of this button. So I'm just going to take the flush side and cut down and then turn it around. and get rid of the back part of that. So that's just leaving me with like a little disc like that.
Do we ship to Puerto Rico?
Yes, we do.
There you go.
Yeah, we do. All right, so I'm using E6000 today. Excuse the messy tube, but this one is very viscous, which I want. It's like, or in other words, it's gloopy, which is what I want. So I'm going to put just a little bit of my E6000 in the middle there. And it's really a good idea to keep like a little toothpick or something with you. But of course, you know, I never have that kind of stuff because that would make life easy, wouldn't it? So I just put a little bit in the middle, and then I'm just going to drop this button right in the middle and push down. And look at that. It fits in there absolutely perfect. And so it's pretty much set in there, but it'll dry up overnight. But look how nice of a little link that is. I've made these a bunch of times over the years, and I'm always just like, I just love it. I just think it looks so cute. And I really like the combination of the two tones of metal. Now you could be, you know, trying to make it all perfect so it lines up there, but of course I would never do that and make it all look perfect, because who would do that? So
we have a kit with that, I
we
believe.
did.
No, you still
Oh,
do.
we still do?
I just made one the other day.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so then I'm going to take one of my head pins here, and I'm going to run it through my little bead. Now I'm just going to use my thumbnail and bend against there to create a nice little sharp 90-degree angle. I don't want to have a big neck on this, so that's why I used my thumbnail. Goodness gracious, darn dog hair. If if you don't have a thumbnail, just you know, use your pliers, but just create as small of a neck as you can. All right, I'm going to come in at the very end of my pliers because I don't want to have a large loop. So I'm going to go up and over and down and open up my pliers, rotate them, and then pull that around. And I want to do, it's kind of hard to do, that's really tough wire. So I'm just creating like a small loop there. I don't want a big loop. And now I'm going to go across my, did I use the right color on that? We changed the colors a few times on this today. So I'm like, did I just use the right ones? So I want to wrap this around a couple times, and I'm going to go for that sort of bulky wrap. So I'm going to go a couple times there, and then I'm going to go back on top of it. And I'm using my bent chain nose pliers just to make it easy. And so you see how I'm using the end of it, and that way I can really pull it around to where I want. And it's getting kind of caught up there, so I'll just get in there. The nice thing about wire is you can boss it around. Okay, so I'm just going around to the back, and now I'm going to use the flush side and come in and trim off that little bit. And now I've got just a tiny little burr there. You can see on the end there. So all I do is take my pliers and just kind of push that down a little bit. I just don't want to have anything sharp there. So now we've created just a nice little charm. Okay, so now I'm using a bit of chain. So this is our CH821 chain, and I'll lay it out here so you can see. It comes with like a large link and then a couple little small links on either side. So I'm going to trim off the links on either side. So if you wanted to replicate this, you would just look under our chain for CH821, and you would just trim off the little extras. So all I did was just cut that off so that we've got kind of a fun little link there. And now we're going to assemble.
Barbara, we do have barrel knot tubes in stock.
Yeah, we always have them in stock.
We have boxes of overstock.
Mm-hmm. I just needed a blast of water. If you order a kit where you need them in there, we always supply that too. So make sure you remember that. Okay, so I am going to take this large jump ring. So this is like a large 16 gauge, like a heavy gauge jump ring. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to take my little charm and run that through. And then I'm going to take my piece of chain that I've got there and run that through. And then I'm going to put it through my little piece of wood, and then through the bottom part of that little link that I just made. Is that how we did it?
Uh-huh.
Did I not end up using the jump ring at all then? Sorry, I have to look at what I did. Oh, I didn't. So I don't need that. There you go. Again, we changed our mind a couple times. I was changing my mind. So now when I use a big jump ring like this and it's got a split on the front, I just turn it to the back so you don't see that split. And then I'm going to open up my ear wire, kind of like you would a jump ring. And then close that up. So you can see I could make these really, really quickly. And I'll show you the completed pair here. All right. Ooh, still got lots of people joining in. Hi, Kathy. If you're new and you have not entered in the draw today, make sure you type in the phrase hashtag free gift and you'll be entered in on a for a gift that we're giving away.
All one word.
All one word. And make sure that you do live in North America, though, because I have to be able to afford the shipping. So there you go. There's our cute little pair of earrings today. It's sort of a mixed metal with some wood and a little accent bead. I just wanted a little bit of something against this wood. And so I cut that piece of chain and it kind of gave it that nice little backdrop and it accented the little bit of silver in the button here. And then we've got my favorite ear wires. So let me hold that up here and see if you can see that. There we go. How cute those are. Super fun earrings.